How's it going, guys? Baldur here, and I know it's been a while. I haven't really been uploading lately, and apologies for the hiatus, but truth be told, it has been way too hot for me to record, so I am here in my room. None of the fans are going, air conditioner isn't going, it's hotter than balls. All I can say is, yeah, it's kind of hard to record under those conditions, but, for those of you who are concerned about the future of my channel, do not worry. I will be posting more videos, and no, none of my videos have been demonetized either, so do not worry about that. I am here to stay, I will make more videos, and I will make more videos because I enjoy it. Now, you're probably wondering why I have 8 values up instead of like a flight simulator. Well, I decided to make a political video. You guys are probably going to crucify me for this, but worry not. Because tomorrow I am going to live stream. Hell, I might actually live stream before I publish this, just so that you guys don't kill me, but I'm going to do a live stream. It's going to be a long-ass flight with the Cessna Caravan from Coronado. So, if you guys are looking forward to that, go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, about a year or two back, I did a political compass, one that has been made in 2004, and apparently everyone has become right-wing libertarian or left-wing libertarians ever since then. So instead of instead of always going into the green with the political compass, I decided to check out 8 values, talking about equality and the economics, the nations, nationalism, liberty, authoritarianism, and all that fun stuff. So, let's go ahead. You'll be presented with a series of statements for each one. Click the button with your opinion on it. Alright, so, here's what I'm going to do. So, if I believe one way or another without any reasonable doubt, I will do strongly agree or strongly disagree. Now, if I agree or disagree, but there are exceptions to it, or I think it's not cut and dry, then in the end, I am going to have to go with agree or disagree. If I don't give a shit, then of course I'm going to go with neutral. And sorry if I cut out with my microphone. I'm also getting over a cold, so I might have coughing fits, like I'm about to have right now. Anyway, oppression by corporations is more of a concern than oppression by governments. I agree, but let's not forget the fact that governments could also be very fucking oppressive. Let's not forget that they also can work together. So, interesting question. It is necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers. Strongly agree, there is no argument there. Freer the market, the freer the people. Funny thing you mention that, because if you notice here, I have Sonic Mania open, and I've been playing that. However, there's been this interesting DRM called Denuvo, and this exactly proves why this is totally bullshit. See, with Denuvo, it is a DRM that acts like spyware, it hampers the performance of your PC, and whenever Denuvo decides to go out of business because I have no idea how long they're going to last, my copy of Sonic Mania is going away with it. So, if you want to call those rights, then I respectfully disagree. Now, with that said, I do like the idea of a free market, so there has to be something along the lines of having a free market, but there needs to be regulations as well. So, I disagree, because oftentimes companies will take away your rights for money. It's better to maintain a balanced budget than ensure welfare for all citizens. Both are important, and I believe this is a false dichotomy. I disagree. I think that I think we need to take care of our people, because if we take care of our people, then that means the economy is going to get stronger. Stronger the economy, then the better the budget will be. So, disagree. Publicly funded research is more beneficial to the people than leaving it to the market. I agree. Um, I don't know if I strongly agree though, because I'm sure there are exceptions to that because the free market does actually drive a lot of innovation. So I guess that answers my question. I agree. International trade is beneficial. I'm going neutral with that because it really, really, really depends on the nature of the trade for that matter. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. A lot of, I believe that's a quote from Marx. Here's the thing, I am not a socialist. I do not believe in socialism, and I do not think socialism works. However, that doesn't mean that Marx was entirely wrong in every single thing. He was actually a smart person. He highlighted the flaws that capitalism had. The issue was that he tried to come up with a system that simply doesn't work. Now, the issue here is that I do kind of like the what he's saying, but truth be told, I mean, well, it depends. I'm more of a people person than a corporation person, so I agree. It'd be best if social programs were abolished in favor of private charity. Strongly disagree. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. I strongly agree on that. The reason for that is because the wealth gap is incredibly huge right now. So not only can the rich afford to shorten the wealth gap, but in doing so, it'll actually create a stronger middle class, which in turn will benefit the rich anyway. So, yes, strongly agree. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. I agree. There's nothing wrong with inheritance, if you ask me. You can. I agree. I should probably move that to agree because I do believe a little bit in the sense that, well, what's the best way to put it? I agree in the sense that I do believe that there should be a state tax, but if you have a rich relative and wants to give their money to you, then I believe the lion's share of that money should go to you. Nothing wrong with that. Public utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. Strongly disagreed. Also, to add to that, I think that the internet should be publicly owned because, honestly, fuck Spectrum. Excessive government intervention is a threat to the economy. I disagree. Excessive government intervention, well, define excessive actually. Because excessive in and of itself is a negative connotation. But I don't think that's exactly what Ape Values was going for. See, the thing is that you do need government intervention in the economy to keep it healthy. If anyone ever tells you that unregulated capitalism is the best system out there, they're either idiots or con men. So, no, excessive government intervention is not a threat to the economy. In fact, the government should actually adapt to how the market forces are, such as if there's a recession, the government should provide more jobs. When there's an upturn, the government should shrink the number of jobs in the government sector. That way, you don't create a bubble. So I disagree. Now, there is such a thing as too much government. Again, I am not a socialist. Those with a greater ability to pay should receive better health care. Strongly disagree. Poor people tend to need health care the most. Quality education is a right of all people. I strongly agree on that one. The means of production should belong to the workers who use. I disagree. I do believe that there should be unions, but I do not believe in communism. So, disagree. The United Nations should be abolished. I strongly, actually, the UN has done some weird crap in the past, but as long as they're keeping World War III from happening, then I disagree. Military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. Sometimes it is, but we haven't really had a case of that, an instance of that since the 1940s, so I disagree. I support regional unions such as the European Union. Fuck no. It is important to maintain our national sovereignty. I agree. Um, I agree. I don't strongly agree because I do believe that a bit of globalism is good, but at the end of the day, nationalism is very healthy too, and it's what pretty much defines a country. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. Um, First off, a united government is not going to exist. But assuming it did, I mean, it's a good question. I can't imagine us having a spacefaring species without any type of unity. But that doesn't mean that we need to get rid of nations. Maybe in the long run they're right, but at the end of the day, economies are too different, ideologies are too different, cultures are too different. I mean, it would be a total clusterfuck. There'd have to be some way we manage it, and I don't think we have the power to do so, so I disagree. It is more important to retain a peaceful relations than to strength. I agree on that one. That doesn't mean we should totally get rid of the military budget, but I agree. Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. I strongly disagree. If I'm sending young men to die in a war, then I better have a damn good reason why I'm doing so. Military spending is a waste of money. I agree, just in the way that the US is doing it. I think that we could actually improve how efficiently our military budget is handled. See, there's too much money going to Air Force projects that either rot on the tarmac or we have stupid crap like the F-35, which needs to be modified to hell and back in order for it to be functional on the battlefield. At the same time, we're treating our veterans like absolute shits. So we need better military spending on our veterans and less on stupid Lockheed contracts. So I want to say agree. I'm close to neutral or unsure, but I agree. International aid is a waste of money. Depends on the aid, where it's going to. So disagree on that one. My nation is great. That's a good one. That's a good question, actually. Is my nation great? Um, America has done a lot of good things in past, and they've also done a lot of terrible things in the past. So, define greatness. I think that greatness, yeah, I'd call it great, but it definitely has a lot of skeletons in our closet. Like, we've had so many progressive ideologies. We, there's so much American history, actually. We've had a lot of issues with Jim Crow laws, but we also, oh, no, 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 no. Okay. I'll be right back in a moment. Alright, so next question. Research should be conducted on an international scale. I really don't see any argument against that. By the way, I'm back after stupidly hitting the back button on my mouse. God damn, that was annoying. Anyway, I'm glad I got that sorted out. Back to the test. Governments should be accountable to the international community. Strongly agree on that. Well, I agree on that because I do believe that that's a good idea. However, it seems like the people who get in trouble for war crimes are the people on the losing side of a war. So there's a bit of a bias there. So I agree. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. Um, there goes my cough. I want to agree with that. It depends on how. Actually, yeah, I agree on that because I do believe that there are terrible governments out there, but if you actually look at it, the most horrible acts that mankind has ever created happened after governments were toppled. I am talking about Saddam Hussein. I'm talking about Stalin. I'm talking about Pol Pot. I'm talking about all these terrible people, the French Revolution. I mean, so many heads rolled in that. So every time there's a revolution, there's gonna be a genocide. Hell, the US Revolution, the American Revolution, was probably the most peaceful, and even then we had the Trail of Tears. So, what does that mean? Even protesting authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. I agree. I think that there are some governments that just shouldn't be there, but I'm not too entirely sure that peace is always the best of action. The question is, it once you topple an authoritarian government, what's going to happen with the government you create? It's probably going to be terrible as well. So I want to say strongly agree, but I just simply agree. Maybe there are some exceptions. Maybe governments are so terrible there needs to be a violent revolution. I don't know. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. What religious values? I am agnostic. I don't have religious values. And frankly, I don't care if anyone actually believes as well, or doesn't believe, or you know what I mean. I strongly disagree. Our nation's values should be spread as much as possible. Depends. I want to go neutral on this one, honestly, because it depends on what type of values. There are a lot of good Western values be shared, but there are also a lot of pretty bad Western values that we don't want to share too, like corporate greed. I don't want every country in the world to have that type of mindset. Excess consumption, I don't want that either. But at the same time, our views of doing whatever you want with your life, women having the right to do whatever they want with their lives, people marrying whomever they want. I mean, those are really good values. And I definitely think that those should be spread, but not everything should be, so I'm going to go neutral on that. It's very important to maintain law and order. Agree. I strongly agree on that one. You don't get, well, actually, no, I agree on that. I think that law and order is important, but you shouldn't be draconian about it. The general populace makes poor decisions. Well, considering more than half the American population is overweight, considering there are a huge amount of smokers, and yeah, I'd have to say we do make poor decisions. I mean, let's put it this way. Look at the Democratic primaries. Mistakes were made. General population makes poor decisions. Oh, I agree. There's no argument about that. Now, they also make good decisions, but no, there there is no lie or falsehood in this statement. Victimless crimes such as drug use should not be crimes at all. Yes, keyword is victimless, because if you use drugs that are very addictive, like heroin or methamphetamine, then you are more likely to commit crimes such as stealing in order to get your next fix. Let's not forget how when you're on drugs, you're more likely, depending on the drug of course, you're more likely to make mistakes and commit crimes, such as drinking alcohol. Yeah, drinking alcohol is fine. I mean, as long as you don't get behind a car, then you should be, or an airplane for that matter. Can't forget about that. I mean, look at my channel. Anyway, it depends on how you abuse it. The thing is that if it's a victimless crime, that's fine. But not all drug use is a victimless crime. That's the issue. So I'm going to have to go with agreeing with that. Sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. A good question on that one. See, there have to be some laws to prevent terrorism. However, I don't think our right to. I'm going to have to go disagree on this one. But I don't think our right to free speech, our right to privacy, a right to a trial, anything in the Bill of Rights, that should not be taken away for the supposed, safety of the population. So I disagree. Those rights should not be infringed. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. I, uh, I want to disagree because, well, I want to. I'm just going to say I disagree. I'm sure there's some type of surveillance is necessary, but I don't want the government to track every single thing I do every moment of every day and then compile that up. Not only that, but it's counterproductive. I mean, they gather so much information, yet they couldn't prevent a bombing in Massachusetts. I mean, how effective is that? It seems that some government surveillance is necessary, but right now we have too much government surveillance. And that not only is draconian, but that also prevents them from doing their job properly. So disagree. The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. I strongly disagree on that one. If you think you have rights a uh, in a stateless country, wait until you get kidnapped and sold as a prostitute. Regardless of political opinions, it's important to side with your country. Not if your country is wrong. I mean, hell, just ask any North Korean defector. No authority should be left unquestioned. I strongly agree. Now, many people would say, well, what if you're in the military? You need to follow orders or something along those lines. That may be, but that doesn't mean you can't question them. It's just that given certain circumstances, and I actually have a job where I'm kind of in a position of authority, I think if somebody actually disagrees with what my methods are to get the job done, then I think that should be brought up after the task is completed. So that way it doesn't interfere with the operation, but otherwise, everything should be questioned. I mean, otherwise, you're just going to have sycophants. That's the bottom line. Hierarchical state is best. I think a hierarchical state is inevitable, and I do think that we need leaders, so I think I'm going to have to go with agree, but just because we have leaders doesn't mean that they're better than us. That's the thing. It is important that the government follows the majority opinion, even if it's wrong. I want to agree with that one, just for the sake of democracy, but as I said before, the majority of the people could make bad decisions. So I agree. I mean, it's a democracy, but some decisions should be left out of the hands of the people. Like, for example, the only reason we have black kids in schools that are also shared with white kids is because of a judge's decision. If it was left to the vote, then we would never have gotten rid of segregation. Same with gay marriage. Remember, Prop 8 was passed in 2008 by the people of California. It was a vote. However, after that said vote, well, you had the Supreme Court, and they ruled that all gay marriage should be legal. So, in the end, I agree, but actually, I'm going to be neutral on this one because there are good examples and bad examples of that being right. See, the government shouldn't always follow the majority opinion. Well, actually, no, I disagree. The stronger the leadership, the better. Define stronger. A good leader? I'd have to agree with that, but it really depends on what you mean by stronger leadership. Democracy is more than a decision making process. I strongly agree. Democracy is also a way to peacefully exchange the power of government from one party to the next. See, in places like Russia or Cambodia, you did not have that. You had monarchies, and the only way to get rid of those guys was through violence. So, what happens when you have a government that's overthrown and you have a bunch of teenagers with the power of life and death in their hands? Well, bad things happen. In a democracy, though, if there's so much discontent, at least you can vote the person out. You can vote them out with ballots instead of bullets. So I strongly agree on that one. Environmental regulations are, yeah, strongly agree. A better world will come from automation, science, and technology. I disagree. Automation is actually pretty fucking terrifying if you think about it. See, the only reason why we have education in the first place, like public education, is because we need educated workers. And I don't mean education like how many wives did Henry VIII had. No, that's an advanced education for high school. No, I'm talking about simple, elementary things like reading, writing, critical thinking. That stuff is not present until the late 19th and early 20th century. And the reason that wasn't really prevalent is because we didn't have a need for educated workers. But once the Industrial Revolution came into full swing and we started to develop a middle class, then yes, it became important. We needed educated workers. So if we automate everything, then the only reason why we would have any type of public education in the first place is altruism. And I'm too cynical to think that the government would do that. So, science and technology, I agree. Science and technology are great. Automation is not. Disagree. Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. I strongly disagree on that one. I don't think religion has a place in a child's mind. I actually don't even think religion has a place in society for that matter. It teaches something that has no verifiable evidence to support it. Traditions are of no value on their own. I disagree. It depends on the tradition. I just contradict myself. Religion should play a role. No, fuck no. Churches should be taxed the same way other institutions are taxed. I strongly agree. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life. Oh, I strongly agree about that one. It is important that we work as a united world to combat climate change. I strongly agree with that one. Society was better many years ago than it is now. That's a good question. I think economically, that is the case. Socially, that is not the case. However, I do think that economic values are more important than social values. Call me a cynic all you want, call me terrible all you want, but I have to agree with that. It's important that we maintain the traditions of our past. It really depends on our traditions. I think that Western traditions are really good, but there's some traditions that aren't good. So I have to disagree. I don't think we should be dogmatic about it, but there are some good traditions. It's important that we think in the long term beyond our lifespans. I strongly agree. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. I agree. Strongly agree for that matter. Drug use should be legalized or decriminalized. I want to agree with that, but it really depends on the drug. Like heroin, methamphetamine should be illegal. And dealers should be punished more than they currently are. And I think there should be more ways for us to treat people who are addicted to drugs. Granted, I also think that just because you did drugs in your past doesn't mean your life should forever be ruined. Same-sex marriage should be legal. Of course it should. No cultures are superior to others. Bullshit. A culture that values women's rights, choose whatever they want with their lives, is better than a culture that cuts the clits off of infants. So, no, some cultures are better than others. Sex outside of a marriage is immoral. No, in fact, it's actually fun. In fact, it could actually improve your marriage. If we accept migrants at all, it's important that they assimilate into our culture. Um, well, I think our culture is better, but it really depends on the culture. I think I have to disagree with this one. They could bring some of their a lot of what the U.S. has done in the past was to bring culture to was to bring culture from other places. It happened a lot in the 20th century. So multiculturalism is good, but again, it depends on what type of culture we're talking about. As I said, some cultures are better than others. Abortion should be prohibited in most cases. I think abortion is a terrible fucking thing, but I do believe with good, honest intentions that women who decide to have abortions, majority of them probably take that very seriously. So I'd have to disagree. Gun ownership should be prohibited for those without a valid reason. I strongly disagree. I think there should be gun control, but there shouldn't be. You shouldn't have a reason as to why you want a gun. I just don't see how that works with our Second Amendment. I support single payer universal health care. Yes, prostitution should be illegal. I disagree on that, but I think prostitution should be regulated in regulated brothels. Street prostitutes are. You can't regulate that, and it's too dangerous for the said people. Maintaining family values is essential. Depends on the family values, but that sounds like a conservative, religious right thing, so no, I strongly disagree. To chase progress at all cost is dangerous. I I disagree with that. I mean, there are probably some exceptions to that, but I can't think of any. Genetic modification is a force for good, even on humans. It's neither good nor bad. It depends on what the reason is. There are certain GMOs that are really good. There are also certain GMOs that are designed to spread to other farms so that Monsanto can sue the said farm, but that's neither here nor there. So there are goods and bads with GMOs. We should open our borders to immigration. We should open our borders to legal immigration. Keyword is legal. And I also believe that it should be easier for people who want to immigrate to the US to become legal residents or citizens. And the reason for that is because when we have illegal immigrants, they're undocumented workers, which means that they are taking jobs from other people who demand at least a minimum wage. So, in other words, when you have undocumented illegal immigrants, then what we have are a bunch of companies that abuse that and then put other people from our country, born and raised, out of a job. So I want to disagree, but I'm going to be neutral on that actually. Governments should be as concerned about foreign citizens as they are about those with borders. Um, well, I do think that they should be concerned about who's going into the US and why, but honestly, terrorism is not it doesn't have the amount of bodies that homegrown murderers have, so I have to disagree with that one. All people, regardless, 69 by the way, all people, regardless of factors like culture or sexuality, should be treated equally. I strongly agree. It's important that we further my group's goals above all others. Um, alright, define group. This is a vague ass question. Anyway, But what's the best way to put it? It's important that we further my group's goals above all others. Well, it depends on the group. So, are we talking about America as a group? Are we talking the Democratic Party as a group? I happen to be a member, but I definitely fucking disagree with that one. Um, no, I think that depends on the group. I can't exactly make an educated decision on that one, so I'm going neutral. Alright, so my results. I am a socialist. No, I'm not. Well, I don't want to consider myself socialist. If anything, I'm a Keynesian. I and what I mean by that is that Keynesian economics believes that there are ups and downs in the economy. So we need government intervention to make the ups and downs as smooth as possible. For example, let's say that there's a recession. Well, there aren't a lot of companies that are hiring during a recession. So what we need are government jobs to keep those people on their feet and to further strengthen the economy. But then, once the economy picks up again and companies start hiring again, then we need to decrease the number of government jobs in order to prevent a bubble. So, no. Also, I do not believe that. Well, my definition of socialism is when the means of production are owned by the government or the people. I do not believe in that because I do believe that capitalism, privately owned businesses create innovation. They also provide a way for us to actually, well, they also provide us a way where, in case, the markets fall, that we actually have the government as a backup. Or, if the government isn't doing too well, then at least you have companies doing the backup. But I don't think that actually works the other way around as much as it does one way or the other. Now, the thing is, though, is that if you have a totally socialist country and your markets are going down, I mean, what's your safety net? If your economy's going down, so is your country. And that's an issue. Diplomatic axis, I'm balanced. Well, actually, I want to go back to economics. I'm Keynesian, I'm not socialist. Now, that's the way I view it. Now, I believe that Keynesian economics is more capitalist than socialist, but it's a mix of both. So, yeah, whatever, I'll go with that. I'm more for the people than I am for the corporations. The diplomatic aspects. I'm equally a globalist as I am a nationalist. That makes sense. I mean, I do think that nationalism is good, but globalism also has its merits as well. The only problem is that globalism right now is just a way to abuse people from poor countries to make cheap products. It's a money-saving scheme, globalism. Civil access, liberal. Well, yes, I believe that there should be more rights for people, and that's not a bad thing. So, yeah, I'll go with that. Societal axis, progressive. Yeah, I'm not too big on traditional values. That makes sense as well. Closest match is democratic socialism. The ideological matching is work in progress and is much less accurate than the values and axis. Now, I wouldn't call myself a democratic socialist. I'd call myself a social democrat, if anything. The difference between a democratic socialist and a social democrat is that a democratic socialist believes that the economy should be controlled by the government, but it should be done in a democratic manner, as opposed to, let's say, the Soviet Union, which was very authoritarian. It's definitely a system that has more of the people in mind than what the Soviet Union had. Totalitarianism. Now, the thing is, though, is that on the other hand, um, they are not social democrats. And what a social democrat is someone who believes in Keynesian economics, but they also believe in a lot of social safety nets. Bring it up. For example, I believe in universal health care. I also believe that, well, there's some other things. I mean, I probably wouldn't agree with it. I believe in free college, for one. I don't believe that we should have more welfare. I believe that we should have more jobs provided by the government if need be than to actually have people stuck on welfare, because that just drains the system. So I'd call myself a social democrat, though I don't think this test really makes a difference. Anyway, that's it for today. I know it's been a very belated video, but hope you guys enjoyed my little political rant. I'm still a dirty hippie communist, but whatever. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and you guys have a good one.